And our meetings go in here till right up to, so appreciate tossing it in. We're actually 3 weeks out today from game day, so excited about the progress we made. Had about 10 practices under our belt. Last night was our first scrimmage to get out there on the lights. We've actually simulated our first 3 night games are all at different times, 6, 7, and 8 o'clock at night. So last night was a 8 o'clock game start, so we actually were in Memorial, the exact time we will be in 3 weeks, so excited to get our work on there. Really got through it pretty clean. Obviously, you saw the announcement of Cole Rush. That was over a week ago now that happened. Unfortunately, we did lose him for the year. The upside is the injury that he has should be a pretty clean surgery, but we are looking at a longer recovery, so we'll miss him for this year. But that kid's very strong, not only strong in his ability as a person and the way he looks things, but he's a strong faith kid, and I'm excited to see him get into it. Him and Mason Morgan will actually probably be timing out about the same time together, so those guys will go through it. Had a pretty clean fall. Other than that, had a couple of guys with some soft tissue things. Last night we did have Josh Kreutz got a knee injury that will take him out probably a week to 2, but he'll be back in plenty of time for game prep for Eastern Illinois. One of the blessings that comes out of that is there's a good competition for our backup center, so to get a lot of work out of those guys will be really kind of a beneficial thing in the long run, I think, for all of us. A couple other guys, Caleb Patterson is just getting out of concussion protocol. Henry Poyer is just going into it, so those guys have had a little bit of time away from us, but other than that, excited about the group. A couple other things on our radar, obviously the announcement of our throwback uniforms. To say our kids were excited about that, to see those would be an understatement. Kind of a steady process. Obviously, Caden Fagan was nominated for a free cliff, so anytime guys get up for nominations or up for national awards, I kind of do a little bit on them on here in the team room, so I did that, and then when he was nominated for that, I actually tied that into the uniform release and showed him in his modeling career with the uniform on, and our guys were pretty excited. Then we let them see it live yesterday, see the reaction out of that, and then obviously you guys will have the opportunity to see it here today. So I'm excited about that. That's a huge game. Obviously it's later in the season, but I will point out it's also a bye week for the Bears. For anybody that uses that as their reason to maybe not get down to Champaign, that's a bye week, so come one, come all. Should be a great environment from A to Z. Only a couple other things also announced. My wife and I are partnering not only with some of the stuff we've done in the past with tickets, but having a backpack giveaway. I kind of threw it out to our leadership council. Those guys were all over it. I think PB actually had Pat Bryan had a giveaway earlier today with backpacks, so I know a lot of those guys have come from environments and been a part of those things in the past as young children, and now they're going to do it. They're actually donating their own money. I think in this world that everybody talks about, NIL and collectives and what guys are paying, they're giving their own money. They've set up their own drive to get their own cash. I did tell them I would match it, so they're I think probably getting an incentive out of that as well. But to kind of fill up the backpacks and get back to the community, it's awesome to see our guys in that environment. Kanena Adaloga, Kanena also obviously nominated for the Werfel Award, and that's a recognition of what he does on the field, off the field, community service, and a lot of other things that he does nationally for us as a student athlete representative. So excited to get that going. From a football standpoint, our guys have been absolutely awesome. I think there's a little edge to them. I think they've been overly communicative. One of the things we've been talking about since January is just the way they talk, walk, and go about their business, and they've been really good. Have obviously a large group of players coming back. In addition to that, some of our transfers that have come in have been very apparent how much football they've played. They know how to practice. They know how to go about things. They kind of learn things through our way, our own vision. But overall, it's been very, very productive. So with that, I'll just open up really for any questions.
What's Cole's injury mean for that group? Who you counting on to step up?
He obviously had been with us in the spring, so there was a certain, I think, Hart is an older player in that room. I think a lot of guys, but Tanner Harkin from last year to this year is really kind of almost a different player, and that's been very evident over that course of time. But Cole had been a very nice addition to our room. So with any player, Unfortunately for our game, this is a very big part of it. I actually sent Cole yesterday. I believe there was a running back in Texas or something happened yesterday, and I just happened to see it online and sent him that and said, hey, the world is not alone, right? This guy's going through the same exact thing. You got to handle that moment and move forward. But I thought our tight ends in general, especially Arkin, Henry Boyer, obviously Goda is a nice addition too that has been somebody that we've added into the room. And then really just, I would say, other positions really got to step forward, right? And I would tell you as a wide receiver room, I know we lost Casey and Isaiah from last year, really two very talented players that are on their own career path now, but I think Pat Bryant's growth from a year ago, Zachary Franklin has been an incredibly good addition. Very excited to see him work, but also the guys in the room, Ashton Hollins, for sure there's been Alex Kapka-Jones is playing as good a football as he's had since he's been there. I think a lot of those junior college guys, when they come in, there's that moment of, okay, this is a little bit different. They played against good competition, but they step forward. So I think that I would see the wide receiver room kind of stepping into that leadership role as well within that position group.
What's some things that stood out to you about the first scrimmage? What things that you liked and maybe some things to work on?
Yeah, without a doubt, the things I like the way our guys are talking. I think that's part of the hardest thing when you have new transition, new team, is just getting a new group of voices to talk and communicate. So I thought that last night. I took my headset up after the first two series just because I wanted to hear our guys talk, and I was very impressed with that. Little thing, but it's a big thing. We have the addition of not only coach to player communication, but also tablets. So we had tablets out last night and literally met with it for our players before. Joe put on a presentation there on some things they could be aware of, and the way they handled that during the scrimmage yesterday. From everything, the feedback from our players and coaches has been overwhelming. We were actually the first team in college football to use those last night of all teams across the country. So we were the guinea pig last night. We'll get it again next Wednesday, and also the Wednesday before we go into our final game week prep, we'll do those three. I thought we threw the ball around, caught the ball really well, not just last night, but I would say even going back to last Saturday night was really one of those practices where you're kind of like, whoa, all right, there's some things here in what they're doing. So that involves obviously the throwing and the catching, but also the protection. I think defensively, it's no surprise to anybody here, our outside linebacker room is very blessed, and they're playing at a high rate, playing very physical. I think I grabbed Tanner and Henry, and I said, hey, one of the things that I've experienced in my career, when you have a position group that's really strong, the group that's going against them, as bad as it may be in practice, they get better every day. And like I shared with them, like literally the players you're playing against literally might be some of the better players in our league and in our schedule. So those guys are getting better on a daily grind as well.
Healthy running back.
Yeah, I would probably say that was probably one other thing that I don't think Aiden Lawfrey is playing at a very, very high level. I think Caden Fagan, also Josh McCray really have had a good fall camp. Josh was a little bit banged up for a little bit, but those three guys in particular. Jordan Anderson, unfortunately, has not completely healed from his quad, but is going to be back with us here sooner than later. And then Khalil Valentine, a true freshman, has come in and is a very explosive athlete, has kind of a different skill set than all those other guys, has his own unique skill set, but is very impressive.
What have you seen out of Matthew Bailey as he's been back and kind of working?
Just to have Matt around, like he's a big, good, strapped up. He just thinks, walks, talks football. I'm walking the other day and he's running out of the building, he's yelling up, came in, he kind of gave me some things away from the game that had popped up in the locker room, just his voice, his maturity, just very conscientious. From a skill set standpoint, he made a play on a tight end out route the other day that just kind of the old Matt Bailey that we've seen. I think him and Miles Scott and Xavier Scott, those three guys in the back end in general have been a very good glue for us. I think Coach Henry Aaron would tell you that. But also some newcomers in that back end that flash. Torrey Cox, obviously Terrence Brooks is a good player, but I think Cox in particular, he's a guy that we didn't know a lot about, kind of came in at the last minute, but has been a very, very productive player. And then T. Strain is playing as good at football, had by far his best performance since he's been here last time.
You used the in-home communication during camp all the time, but what did you like or not like about it during the scrimmage, maybe more of a game setting?
Yeah, well, without a doubt, it's players and coaches, right? Literally led off today. I had a meeting in here earlier with the team, and we always go through review, corrections, and highlights and lowlights, and I literally started off with, hey, a key part of this is no one knows what this is like because no one in this room has ever done it, right? So it's really important for the players and coaches to communicate, not just in the actual art of it, like last night, the game, but like today, hey, what did you like? What didn't you like? Is someone saying too much? Is they not saying enough? We got to work on the exact cutoff at that 15-second. There were, I think, 2 occasions last night where Barry was talking and boom, it got cut off, right? So we got to get him used to that, and also I think set up some proactive signals for him to know, hey, you're at 16, you're at 20 seconds, you got 5 seconds to get this call in, or where it's at. But then a lot of times we snap the ball before the 15-second is off. So there's a little bit of everything from A to Z. And then defensively, whoever wears the headset on the field, right, we've kind of gone back and forth between different position groups to get that person comfortable, and obviously with Aaron Collins, or Aaron and Barry both speaking into it.
But Mario Sanders is a guy who I think was limited in
Yeah.
the spring, but what's he added this fall camp, and how's he kind of fit into that slot?
Yeah, to steal the words of Steph this morning, we were going through the scrimmage review, and he just, like said, he's different in his speed, his ability, his burst. Him and Kanari both are obviously very fast players. But Mario, when he knows what he's doing, how he's doing it, and where he's supposed to go, he plays at a different level speed-wise. So I think that, and then in the return game, I think he could really help us. But yeah, it's different with him, and he has been full strength. There isn't any limitations on him physically.
If you get the pads on with the defensive line, what are you seeing that you have there?
Yeah, and I'll clean those edge guys, like, so the front 5, right? Like when we play our 3-down schemes, inside T-Raw has been, we've kind of had a little thing since I've been here. Every year we've had like a senior nose guard come out of nowhere and play really well, and T-Raw is definitely holding up that end of the bargain. I think there's a combo platter of guys behind him, but then at the end position, I would say Briggs is probably the guy that stood out the most, but Alex Bray has been very good. Zeke Holmes, Pat Farrell has flashed. I think those guys in particular, I think they're trying to understand how we're doing things, what we're doing, but also fitting into what their skill sets are and what they can bring us. Some of them, Gentle, Briggs, we don't have a lot of background history, and then to be quite honest, T-Raw and Bray, who are the next 2 guys, and Pat Farrell, they don't have a lot of reps even with us, so we're learning them more and more. Last night, Pat Farrell flashed on a couple plays were pretty impressive. And then the edge guys, Seth, Gabe, Alec. Alec probably played as consistently last night as I've ever seen him play since we've been around him. And then Daniel Brown has been a little bit limited with a back, but he practiced last night at scrimmage, so to get him back out there. We did move JoJo Hayden from inside to outside, and that's been very impressive. He got a little limited with his shoulder, but he, in the practice he was out there, have been very good. And then also Demetrius John is another guy that we transitioned from the defensive end to outside backer room, and he was, I believe, his 3rd or 4th practice last night was pretty impressive. But the guy that probably jumps out to everybody is Joe Barna, a freshman who incredibly strong. He's got more twitch than you probably thought. Very powerful. He's got a knack for the rush game. He kind of in his own methodical way, kind of just doesn't say a lot and does a lot with his actions. So I'm excited where he's at.
Coach, year 4 of your program, where do you feel where are you at, and where do you think you're going?
Year 4, year 4 is not really different than year 3, 2, and 1. We're trying to get everybody in a position to be the top. I always say we have a group of about 80 players. You travel 74, but you're always kind of 2 or 3 guys swinging here and there, whether they're in or out. But find out who those players are, maximize their strengths, minimize their weaknesses. I think after scrimmage 1, you hope to get out of it fairly healthy. I think we checked the box there, and then just really try to figure out exactly what we do well, what we don't do well, right, and either improve or discard that. Find out, but because we had 45 guys come into this camp that have never been through fall camp, right? Some were with us in the spring, but they have 45 out of 120. We're at 119. We were saving a roster spot for an addition. We'll fill that on Monday. So we've really truly been around. Almost 40% of our roster was never in fall camp. So to kind of get them to understand, and last week was a grind. By NCAA rules, you can only do certain things, but we have unlimited hours. So if you think about it this way, in fall, the NCAA allows you to have 20 hours of contact with a player every week, 20, right? And 3 of that comes on game day with the hours of that. So if you have 20 hours in a week, and I think last week, by the time we walked off the field on Tuesday, we had over basically 16 hours in those 2 days, right? So in a week, we put in 70, 80 hours of work with our players, which is 3 to 4 work weeks of a fall. So we're used to it as coaches, but they're not used to it as players. So to grind them and move forward and get a lot into them, have them retain it. Just because you're saying it doesn't mean they're understanding it. So to connect, I think, is a big part of it, and that's kind of where year 4 is.
Brett, I know.
have a year 4 question. So, December 2020, when you first met with your team, I'm assuming you were in this room.
Mm-hmm.
There are just 4 guys left who were in that room: Seth Coleman, Brian Mead, Ezekiel Holmes, Hugh Grimes. That's not probably typical in college football.
Right.
I'm curious how you react to that. Usually, year 4 is that, the guys I came in here with, those red shirt freshmen,
Yeah.
they're now my seniors, and that's just not how this has played out. So, what's that like for you approaching this year?
Yeah, it's not it's different for us where we are right here right now, but it's not really different for other college football programs, right? This is happening kind of all over the place. When I took the job, I told Josh with the transition of the portal and the NIL coming in, I knew this was going to be a very flexible roster. I think you just got to understand that. That's why I kind of made a point during media days, even though they may not have been with us. We've added a huge pool of players that have started college football at other places. The challenge is to get them to how we think, how we do. So I had all of our coaches after that first week met with anybody that hadn't been in our program in the fall before, and just find out how they're doing with 4 things. Obviously football, which is not just the football side of it, but the mental side of learning how we say things, what we do, what phrases mean, fueling and hydration, meeting room environment. So how do they learn in the classroom? And the 4th thing, the biggest thing, is just all the things once they leave the building. How's their housing? How's their transportation? How are they getting back and forth? How is the environment that they're living in? Are they able to sleep? Is their air conditioning working, right? Because we think those things matter, and to make our kids understand that. But I would say overall, like today, I look over there because T-Ross sits right there. Briggs sits here. Gabe Backus sits right there, right? Like I look because I see these guys, and even though they may not be guys that have been with us the whole time, they've been with us and they understand us, right? T-Raw and Dennis Briggs put together a packet on their own, unsolicited, because they've heard JMO teach and preach to them about what it means to be a D lineman in this program. So they put together their own packet, got all the defensive linemen together, and did a fall camp expectation meeting on their own. And gave it to JMO, and then JMO made a copy and gave it to me. And I mean, like, that thing was like liquid gold. It's like I prepared it, right? It's like JMO prepared it. And I think that's when you're reaching players, right? I grabbed Zakari, I forget after what practice, but Zakari can catch the football, right? Zakari can play the game, right? It's pretty obvious. You watch him, like the first time I watched him live, I was like, okay, well, that's what I saw on film, right? And then, but there's certain elements that just his football IQ, his awareness. He literally played 3 different positions last night. He knows exactly what he's supposed to do. He knows what others are doing. He's encouraging others. I went up to him and said something. We were the first day we're in full pads. We always run a drill called Illini drill, which is a physical drill that involves blocking and running the ball. Obviously, that didn't come up. The Illini drill did not come up in my recruiting weekend with Zakari Franklin, right? But he jumped in there, like most guys got 1 rep. He jumped in there twice just because he wanted to prove where he was at. And he went against Matt Bailey, right? Which he's probably given up a significant size thing, and went in there and fought his tail off, right? So just when you're reaching the guys that are just in here for the first time, or T-Rod's case, he's a transfer. This is his 3rd year. He's one of us. Like, I forget that I didn't recruit him, right? Like, those guys make a big impact in helping that scenario.
Okay. Luke Allmeyer's talked about his desire to play more free and loose and not be
He talked to you about that?
Yes, he told us about that. And not be afraid to make mistakes. Have you seen that come out of him on the field, particularly last night?
You got what you want to write. You just want me to add to it, right?
Pretty much, yes.
Luke, I think, has done 3 things since last year to this year. His depth and knowledge and understanding of what we're doing here overall is light years away from where it was a year ago. I think to live it as a 9-game starter, to sit back and watch it while obviously Paddock finished out the last couple games, to go through January, February, March before we even hit the practice field, and hear his voice come out in the weight room, in the locker room, and the team exercises, and to see him last spring grow every day, and then this fall so far through these first 9 practices, I think he has a better understanding of everything from early down expectations, 3rd down reality, red area. He just gets it better and understands. He's a smart kid. He wants to be good. He's a very intentional relationship person. If he wants to have a relationship with you, he's very direct in how he makes that happen. As far as playing free, and like I don't know where that's relating to, but I would tell you a quarterback that knows what he's doing and how he wants to get there plays very, very well, right? And he has the ability that, in my opinion, separates other quarterbacks. It's all good and great teaching tape when you called his play and the play is there and it happens, right? What he's really made a great job of doing is he's able to adjust and modify when things aren't well, right? He's got incredible feet. He's very intelligent. He's got a good feel for the game, and that allows him to play at a level that I think is going to help us win.
Brett, 4 new assistants.
Yeah.
I know 3 of them were here in the spring, and you held the hire of Corey back intentionally, but has that new staff members implementing into your new system work exactly the way you wanted it to?
If you're asking just about Corey?
Just all 4 of them, just
Corey,
getting
first
into
off,
yeah.
to your point, to come in under the pretense that he did, he came in really after spring ball, after spring recruiting. He got to work with the guys in June, but in June you can't really do full throttle. It's like limited exercise. He's built a relationship with those corners. I think you'll hear them say that today. He's a very intentional teacher. He carries a bag every day to practice, right? Like I see him grab the bag, walk out, and I'm like, what's with the bag? He's like, my routine, right? And he just, I get in my box. I have a thing outside my office that is my inbox that I want them to put things in that they hand to their players, right? And he just every day has kind of amazed me with things that he puts in front of our players that aren't on my agenda, right? Like he grows in relationships with them. If a guy doesn't want to eat, he'll make him send a picture, show him what he's eating, or he'll go down and eat with them. Just super impressed with who he is. I think Aaron can feel it. Defensive staff in general can feel it. Each of them have their own way. Archie's a very intelligent. Archie's a future coordinator. He's very gifted athletically in an academic way that he sees the game a lot more than just linebacker play. He gets it, feels it, understands it. I've been very impressed. I think our linebackers really love where he's at. And then Clint, who joined us literally right before spring ball, he inherited a room that was very talented, but they'd also been coached by some really good coaches that I knew there was going to be this expectation level, and I think he's really done a nice job of massaging into that moment, creating his own workspace and see where it is. And then on the flip side of it, Step, I don't know if I've ever seen, there was only one change in that offensive room, and it was Step. And just his infectious personality, the receivers have been incredibly responsive to him. Our receivers are playing, in my opinion, the best they've ever played since I've been here. We're a really big group, which is a little bit different, right? Obviously, Isaiah had a lot of production, but you start looking at, obviously Pat, Kapka Jones, Malik Elzy, Colin Dixon, Zachary Franklin. You got these guys that have really big stature. Obviously, Canary and Rio are kind of smaller guys in nature, but across the board, and then just in the staff room, the positivity, the creativity, the energy that Step has brought in there and allowed Barry to be him is very, very evident. It's fun to watch.